Hello, YouTube. I'm back. Listen, I'm going to come on here. I want to address a comment I just got. So I just made a video a few minutes ago, and what in one of the comments, this person, her name is Melanie L. So I want to read. This is for you, Melanie, because I just love that you asked me this question. Okay, so Melanie L asked me 11 minutes ago. I would love to know more about that picture that is behind you. Okay, so you just bumped into one of my favorite stories. Okay, first of all, let me show you a picture she's talking about. Okay, make it big. I make it smaller, right? Yeah. Okay, so you can only see two pictures in there. So that's a little mirror. This is a Roman soldier. Not that I'm worshiping the Romans or nothing, but I like this kind of biblical art type deal. It's a real painting. But this is the picture that she's talking about. Obviously, you guys can tell this is the Christ. Now, don't get mad at me, black folks. I know y'all gonna get mad at me because the face is white. But there's an interesting story behind this picture. So I'm gonna tell it to you. So all you non-believers probably need to click off now, go to another room, take a break. Anyway, I'm being silly. Okay, so this picture right here, this was the very first thing I got out of Vacaville State Prison in 2002. Okay, I had been in there. I'd been in prison several times. I think I've mentioned many times that I'm not that I'm proud of being that I had this past, but I think the truth is valuable. So whatever you've done, it adds something to the story of life. So anyway, I was in prison, Vacaville State Prison. It's the last time I went to prison, and I became a believer in Vacaville State Prison. I was never a violent criminal, but I was certainly a drug dealer. I was a drug addict and a drug dealer for basically, I was in drugs for over 20 years, but I actually sold crystal meth for about 17 years, real heavy in the last 10. So anyway, I was in Vacaville, and I was just coming to faith. I was just a desperate type person. Uh, much of that time that I was dealing drugs, I was HIV positive. This was at a time, you guys know, in the late 80s, 90s, where people were just not expected to live very long. So I saw no reason to change my life. There was nothing to change it for, except to get sick and die. Well, around 2000, it's about 1998, around, what was it, 2000? 98 and 2000, they came out with these drugs, these HIV drugs, right? And they told us about them in prison. Yeah, I had very little hope. I enjoyed being a drug dealer. I enjoyed it. I had a lot of sex, did what I wanted to do, and after work, I had a little street money. Street money is money. It's not like money where you have a house and a car and all that kind of stuff. Street money is you got a hotel room and you got a big stack of bills. So I had that kind of thing. So I was having the time of my life, uh, figuring that it would end soon because I would die soon, and a lot of people around me had died and so forth. Anyway, when it came up with these pills, I had to rethink my life. What if I could live? If I was going to live, it made no sense to live the way I was living. If I was dying, sure, it was fine, just escapism. So while I was in Vacaville, I started going to church. There in the prison, they encourage you to go to jail. There are Bibles in all the cells and all that kind of thing. But I was not very interested. But when I first started really believing that I could get out of, I don't know how. It's hard to explain spiritual matters because that's what makes them spiritual. Is because they are invisible, they are unseen. Suddenly, it came to me that I needed God in my life. Now, I was a person, like I said, who loved the streets. I got robbed in Tenderloin. Tenderloin is the worst area in San Francisco, drug area. I got robbed there. Excuse me. Lord, devil trying to choke me out. Okay, I'm jumping all over the place. I got robbed in Tenderloin. I started to consider other things because I could handle just about anything in the streets. I was kind of, streetwise kind of thing. anything except for somebody putting their hands on me. And somehow or other, by hook or crook, I had managed to avoid that for all of those years that I was dealing drugs. So when I came into prison, I came in with a different attitude. I really wanted to get out of it. I started going AA meetings in there, and I'll tell you, I had a history of AA meetings when I was a youngster in my 20s, tried to get clean. I always ended up relapsing. I didn't have a lot of faith in that process. For me, I've been through some hard knocks, but I started going to church, and I got into that Bible, and I really got into it. I had never been into it. My family, we were raised around the church. My grandmother was to church, and we went when we were little kids, kind of thing. But I never had any reason to really believe it applied to me. For me, church was I like to say, an evil place. But church people, and I mean, I'm a gay man, so you can imagine what as an outsider, what church looked like to me. It didn't look like a good thing at all. But I was desperate to get off this dope. I wanted to change my life, and I was hungry to get clean. Now, so I started going to church in Vacaville. There was one other gay boy who used to go to church with me. He was a person who was he was a church person. He happened to made a mistake. He's locked up. But he took an interest in me. He could see I was a new baby Christian. I was reading my Bible when I was locked up, and when I came out, I would go to church whenever it was open, kind of thing. Anyway, he kind of liked the idea of a new Christian who can teach me things, show me things, tell me things about where to go in the Bible, how to interpret it, and things like that. So he came up. He I don't know if he had access to the office or something like that. He brought me this little picture. It was like a Xerox, like someone taking a magazine and Xeroxed off a lot of copies or something, or some kind of picture that they had there in the church office. Xerox's copies, and he brought me this little Xerox copy like this, just a regular size, like a magazine page, Xerox copy of this picture right here, right? And so I put that over my bunk, and I talked to it and I prayed to it, and I mean I know God was in the picture necessarily, but it was a point of contact for me because it kept my mind off of all of the things. It kept my mind on God. So I value this picture because actually it's the only thing I own. When I got out of prison, the only thing I owned was a gray jumpsuit and that picture. So as soon as I got out, I went a drug program picked me up, Walden House here in San Francisco. I had the worst time with this light. I'm just so ACD about that. OCD. So anyway, make a long story short, I have to tell you my whole damn life story. I just say, oh yes, some Christians do still cuss, but it was the beginning of my faith, and that's what that picture represents to me. So I got out of Vacaville. I went to the Walden House's drug program, and once again I put it over my bed. I kept, and that was my cross, my Christ. Now I don't care what color the picture is. If people feel more comfortable putting a blue screen over a green screen over it, it would make a difference to me. He don't have to be black. I understand what a Jewish person is. I can look at a Jewish person and see they got curly hair, So somewhere in the middle of there, who gives it? I don't care anything about that. It's a point of contact. And so all the things that I went through, because I got out and I still I couldn't get into a 12-step program. I was just going to depend on this. I'm in trouble, because a lot of parts of me are drawn to this street life. I mean, I was really into it. So I made my living, and it's how I stayed high, and it's how I was able to interact with people. I ain't gonna tell you about the sorry condition of my sex life since I gave it up. So I had to let go of quite a bit of stuff, but I always had that Christ. So later on, I got an apartment, I got furniture. God's been good to me, but that takes me back to that time when I first knew the Lord. So it's very valuable to me. I got out, took it to Kinko's next door to the drug program. I kept it small in the drug program, right? Just a little Xerox copy. It was like a little piece of copy paper. And then when I got my own place, it was like a halfway type situation. I took it to Kinko's and I had it blown up real huge, bigger than this. Bill Hughes, and then I cut the face out, just the face, just the eyes. And sometimes, many times, that picture takes me back to the beginning, which is where I need to be sometimes to realize what's occurred with me and how faithful God has been in my life. So, if you're talking about that picture over there, that's just a Roman soldier. I collect all kinds of stuff like that. I got it all over my apartment. But love to go back there. Well, I had socks and shoes on too when I got out. So I had a gray jumpsuit, my underwear, my shoes, and that picture. That's where it came from. Thank you for asking, Melanie L. I hope I answered your question. Diane, no one ever asked me about the picture. I guess because they will say, "Oh, that's a white man." I'm not open to all that, but I have him here by my bed, and that picture will always be with me. Okay, have a good Thanksgiving, guys.